Hello well-wishers and welcome to my channel Aspiring Minds. In today's video, we are going to discuss Elizabethan poetry in details, a much requested video. So grab your virtual seats and let's begin. I guarantee you this video will be very interesting and it will make history of literature very simple to understand, because when I was doing it I used to find it a little boring, so I have tried to learn from it and make it a little interesting. So here you're going to learn about what is Elizabethan poetry. We learn about the major Elizabethan poets. Of course, we have to do the features or the characteristics of Elizabethan poetry, and I will tell you its difference from the Renaissance poetry, because there are many times when it is mistaken that both are the same. However, there is a line of difference and we will discuss it in details. So let's begin. Forget everything you're doing and let's focus for the next 10 to 15 minutes and we will have mastered this topic in a very simple manner. So the Elizabethan age, which spanned from around 1558 to 1603, represents the height of English literature, and it is often referred to as the Golden Age, because this era under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I witnessed a flourishing of creativity, and there were a lot of intellectual activities happening, particularly in the sphere of poetry. Elizabethan poetry emerged as a reflection of the cultural, social and the political dynamics of the time, and this is true for any period of literature. Whatever is happening at that point in time, you will see a reflection of it in its works. The term Elizabethan poetry owes its name to the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. It was a period marked by cultural and artistic growth. The age was characterized by a newfound sense of freedom from the constraints of the medieval way of doing things, and it created an environment which was apt for artistic expression and innovation. You might be wondering what exactly is Elizabethan poetry. It includes rich poetic works produced during the Elizabethan era, characterized by diverse forms, themes, and linguistic richness. It reflects the Renaissance spirit, blending classical influences with the current ongoing English traditions, and this assimilation created a vibrant and dynamic literary landscape in those times. It is often seen when we talk about the major poets of the Elizabethan era, the names of Sir Thomas Wyatt and Henry Howard, the Earl of Surrey. It is taken together because both of them were the pioneers of English sonnet form, and they revived English poetry by translating and adapting from the Italian sonnets. To talk about them, they revitalized English poetry. Their works popularized the sonnet form in England, laying the foundation for future poets. Next, to talk about Sir Philip Sidney. He was renowned for his sonnet sequence called Astrophel and Stella. This particular sonnet sequence explores the themes of love, desire and longing with a lot of emotional depth. The sequence comprises 108 sonnets, showing Sidney's mastery of the form. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been possible for him to compose so many at one go. And this particular sonnet sequence captures the problems of the human heart with a lot of sensitivity and insight. Edmund Spenser is celebrated for his epic poem, The Faerie Queene. It is a masterpiece of allegorical storytelling and provides moral instruction. It is a very celebrated work. It is set in the fantastical realm of fairy. It follows the adventures of various knights embodying virtues of chivalry, and it weaves a tapestry of moral lessons and spiritual truths reflecting on the political, social and the religious issues of the time. Let us now have a look at the various features or characteristics which are there as a part of the Elizabethan poetry, and I will talk about 7 of them, each of them in a little bit of details. At a glance, these are the main features of Elizabethan poetry. It includes linguistic richness, versatility in forms, exploration of themes, integration of reasoning, emotional intensity, courtly and Petrarchan influence, and moral and didactic elements. Now let us see each of them in details. When I talk about linguistic richness, it means that the Elizabethan poets made use of lavish language. It was characterized by intricate imagery, metaphor, and wordplay. The poetry of the era is adorned with elaborate descriptions and vivid language, creating a sensory experience for the reader. It transports you into that world literally. Versatility in forms means that the Elizabethan poetry includes a wide range of poetic styles, including the sonnets, lyrical poems, narrative verse, and dramatic monologues. The poets experimented with each of these forms and they adapted the classical structures in their own way, creating new ones to suit their own artistic vision. The Elizabethan poets explored a diverse array of themes, including love, nature, politics, religion, morality, and the human condition. Themes of love often were those which included unfulfilled love or idealized love, where they were idealizing the beloved. It featured prominently in Elizabethan poetry, and it also reflected the courtly love tradition. Now, what is this courtly love tradition? It's basically when you put your beloved almost on a pedestal and you worship her as if she is a goddess. That is the intensity and madness of love that a lover had for his or her beloved. Elizabethan poetry often included elements of reasoning, persuasion, and logical arguments, reflecting the influence of Renaissance humanism. You will understand it when I discuss the differences very soon. The poets employed rhetorical devices and logical connections to engage the reader's intellect and intelligence, and to also be able to convey moral or philosophical messages. Elizabethan poetry is characterized by its emotional depth and intensity, particularly in the works exploring the themes of love, longing, and despair. The poets infused or added in their poems passion, expressing a wide range of emotions from ecstasy to heartbreak with sincerity and utmost energy. The courtly love tradition and Petrarchan influences exerted a significant impact on Elizabethan poetry, shaping its themes, forms, and language. I just explained some time back about the Petrarchan or the courtly love tradition of placing the mistress on a pedestal and worshipping her as if she was a goddess. The poets often idealized their beloveds, employing Petrarchan conceits and conventions to express the feelings of devotion and longing. The last feature is moral and didactic elements, that is, Elizabethan poetry often included these elements aiming to instruct the reader. The poets used narrative allegories, moral lessons, and philosophical reflections to convey the ethical principles, the rules, and the complexities of human nature. They wanted to impart, to teach the reader through their works. In many cases, we see that Elizabethan poetry and Renaissance poetry, these two terms are used interchangeably. However, there is a thin line of difference, and let me outline it for you. Time period. Elizabethan poetry specifically refers to the time period when poetry was composed during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, while Renaissance poetry spanned between 14th to 17th centuries in Europe. Elizabethan poetry primarily centered in England, while Renaissance poetry was spread all across Europe. Notably, the contributions that came from Italy. The dominant themes of Elizabethan poetry were love, nature, politics, and power. And the themes of Renaissance poetry were humanism and individualism, classical influences and mythology, exploration of human experiences and emotions. To talk about the sonnet form, Elizabethan poetry utilized Shakespearean and Petrarchan forms of sonnet, while Renaissance poetry explored or popularized the Petrarchan form. The poetic forms in the Elizabethan poetry included sonnets, narrative verse, and lyrical poetry, while in Renaissance poetry you have sonnets, epic poetry, and pastoral poetry. Influential Elizabethan poets were William Shakespeare, Edmund Spenser, and Sir Philip Sidney, while Renaissance poets were Dante Alighieri, Petrarch, and Boccaccio. The language and style in Elizabethan poetry was rich and elaborate with intricate imagery, while Renaissance poetry employed classical forms of language and experimentation. To talk about the cultural context, Elizabethan poetry reflects the cultural, social, and the political dynamics of Elizabethan England, while Renaissance poetry is rooted in the revival of classical Greek and Roman literature. Apart from this, there are some other differences as well which are there on your screens. You can take a note of that to understand the key differences between these two forms of poetry. So therefore we can say that Elizabethan poetry stands as a testament to the creative genius and the intellectual vibrancy of the Elizabethan age. Through its linguistic richness, thematic depth, and artistic innovation, the poetry continues to inspire readers with its timeless relevance in the tapestry of English literature. Now, if you want a detailed answer for your university examinations, you can contact me by sending me a DM on Instagram or email me, and I will provide you a PDF of the important questions along with the answers for UG and PG level for this for a very nominal price. So that's it from this video. I hope you liked it. Do hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel for more such future updates. Thank you for watching. Bye.